Okay, so ready to dive into something pretty useful today. We're going to tackle how to, really nail a job interview, specifically for a building cleaner role. And lucky for us, we've got a whole bunch of resources from RoleCatcher to help us break it all down.
Sounds good.
Yeah, we've got their career guides, we've got sample interview questions, and even some info on how their AI can actually give you personalized feedback, which is pretty cool. So by the end of this deep dive, you should be feeling super confident and ready to really impress those hiring managers.
It's interesting. This role, building cleaner, it often involves way more than you might think.
Oh yeah, sure.
It's not just about, keeping things spick and span. It's about making sure the entire building is running smoothly and safely. It's a big responsibility.
Totally. So I guess let's get right to it, huh? What are some of the typical questions, the ones they always seem to ask in a building cleaner interview?
Well, one of the first things you probably hear is, can you tell me about your previous experience in building cleaning? But, and this is important, even if you've never actually had that exact job title before, don't freak out.
Right, right.
You can totally highlight skills you've learned from other jobs, skills that would transfer over.
That's a great point. So what kind of experiences would be relevant here, even if they're not, specifically about building cleaning?
Okay, so think about times when you had to pay super close attention detail, like maybe you worked in retail where everything had to look perfect, right?
Okay.
Or maybe you had a job, I don't know, maybe fast food where you had to follow like super strict procedures. That kind of thing shows you can stick to guidelines, which is like super important for safety and efficiency in cleaning.
It makes total sense. So it's all about how you frame those past experiences, right? Show how they actually connect to this job.
Mhm.
So, okay, let's say you've aced that first question about experience. What comes next? What else are they going to throw at you?
Well, hiring managers, they really want to see how you handle tough situations. So they might ask something like, how would you deal with a client who's unhappy with the cleaning?
Ooh, yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, knowing how to deal with conflict, that's got to be key in any job where you're working with customers, right? Including building cleaning. So how should someone approach that kind of question?
The key is to stay calm and professional and, focus on finding a solution. Start by really listening to what the client is saying, let them know you understand their concerns, and then explain what steps you would take to fix the problem.
Right.
But here's the catch. Don't make any promises you can't keep.
Yeah, you got to be realistic, right?
Exactly. It's a balancing act, showing empathy, but also setting those realistic expectations.
Makes sense. Okay, let's shift gears a bit now and talk about efficiency, because I imagine time management is pretty crucial for a building cleaner, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you're often working on your own and you've got to manage your time really well to get everything done. So don't be surprised if they ask, how do you ensure cleaning tasks are completed efficiently and on time?
Okay, so how can someone like really showcase their time management skills in their answer? How do you prove you're good at that?
Well, having a system is key. Maybe you use a detailed to-do list, or you prioritize tasks based on how urgent they are, or maybe you even use a time-cracking app.
Right.
Whatever works for you, but show them you've got a method for staying organized.
Right, like you've got it all under control.
Exactly. And, you could even mention some specific techniques like, have you ever heard of zone cleaning?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it's where you divide the space up into sections and then tackle each one systematically. That can really impress them.
That's a really good tip. Oh, and speaking of, systems and techniques, I noticed the career guide mentions different specializations within building cleaning. Can you tell us a little bit more about those?
Sure. A lot of building cleaners, they kind of do a bit of everything, but you can also specialize in certain areas like floor care or window cleaning or even high-level disinfection. If you can
Oh,
show them you're passionate about a specific area, that can really make you stand out.
that makes sense. So let's say someone's really interested in, I don't know, floor care.
Mhm.
What kind of stuff should they highlight in the interview? Like what
Mhm.
expertise would impress the hiring manager?
Well, they could talk about, different types of flooring materials like hardwood, tile, carpet, and all that,
Right, right.
and what the right cleaning methods are for each one, and the right products. They could even mention experience with specific equipment like floor buffers or carpet
Oh,
extractors.
yeah, the specialized stuff.
Exactly. The more you can show them you know your stuff, the better.
Yeah, it seems like having that deeper understanding of a particular area can really set you apart.
Hmm.
Okay, so back to those interview questions. What about situations where you have to train or guide other people? Like, I guess, being a bit of a leader.
Yeah, hiring managers want to see that you can, share your knowledge and maybe even have some leadership potential. So they might ask something like, can you describe a time when you had to train or mentor a new cleaning staff member?
Gotcha. But what if someone hasn't formally trained anyone before? Like, how can they still answer that question in a way that makes sense?
Well, think about times when you've had to explain something clearly to someone, maybe a friend or a family member, or help them learn something new.
Okay, yeah.
It could be anything, really, like showing someone how to use a new gadget or, I don't know, teaching them a recipe. The point is to show you're patient, you can communicate clearly, and you're good at breaking things down into like easy steps.
I love that. It's true. You don't always need like official training experience to show you've got those skills. Okay, so got to talk about safety, right? That's got to be a huge part of the job.
Oh, yeah, safety is absolutely paramount in building cleaning. They're going to want to know you understand the proper procedures for using cleaning supplies and equipment safely.
So what kind of question would they ask to figure that out?
They might ask something like, how do you ensure that cleaning supplies and equipment are properly stored and maintained?
So it's not just about keeping things tidy. It's about being really careful and following those safety rules, right?
Exactly. Here's where you can talk about, hazard communication standards, proper labeling, how to store potentially dangerous materials. You can even mention stuff like, checking cords for damage or cleaning filters regularly.
Right? All those little things that make a big difference.
Yeah, those details really matter.
It seems like attention to detail and like being proactive about safety are super important. Okay, well, I know we've got a lot more to cover, including some really cool stuff about how RoleCatcher's AI can help you nail these interview questions, but we'll save that for part 2 of our deep dive.
All right, welcome back. We covered a lot in part 1, getting ready for that building cleaner interview, but we're not done yet.
You're telling me we still have a bunch of good stuff to talk about, all those tips and strategies.
For sure. So let's jump back into those interview questions, those common ones they like to ask. Remember how we were talking about time management and staying organized?
Yeah.
Well, hiring managers, they often want to dig a little deeper into like your prioritization skills.
Right. Makes sense because if you got a ton of different cleaning tasks, you got to know which ones are the most important, right?
Exactly. So be ready for a question like, how do you prioritize cleaning tasks when you have multiple things to do, when everything feels important?
Okay, so how do you answer that in a way that really wows them? Like, how do you show off those prioritization skills?
Well, think about the impact each task has. Like anything that affects safety or hygiene, that's got to come first, right?
Oh, of course, those are the big ones.
Then you got to think about deadlines, anything urgent that needs to be done ASAP.
Right, so it's like creating a system in your head, figuring out what's most important and what needs to be done first. Any other tips for this question?
Mentioning visual aids can be helpful. Like some building cleaners, they use color-coded systems or checklists to stay on top of everything.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah, it shows you're organized, that nothing's going to slip through the cracks.
I like that. Okay, I want to touch on something that's super relevant these days.
Yeah.
Sustainability.
Yeah.
I feel like more and more companies are trying to be eco-friendly, even with their cleaning.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where understanding green cleaning comes in. They might ask about your experience with eco-friendly cleaning products or methods.
Okay, so what if you haven't worked in a place that's specifically green? How do you still show you know about this stuff?
Well, do a little research. Look up those common green cleaning certifications like Green Seal or Eco Logo.
Okay.
Those certifications, they mean a product meets certain environmental standards. And you can also talk about specific eco-friendly practices, like using microfiber cloths instead of paper towels, or diluting cleaning solutions so you don't waste as much.
That's good to know. It sounds like being aware of all that sustainable stuff can really give you a leg up.
Yeah.
Okay, back to those tricky questions, those situational ones where they try to throw you a curveball.
Right. They love to see how you handle unexpected challenges, so be ready for something like, can you describe a time when you had to deal with a difficult cleaning task?
Ooh, yeah, this is where you get to show off those problem-solving skills. What kind of examples would really impress them?
Okay, think about times when you had a really tough stain that just wouldn't budge, or a nasty spill, or maybe even just a weird cleaning request, something out of the ordinary. The key is to explain how you figured out what to do.
So it's not just about the problem. It's about how you tackled it.
Exactly. Like, did you do some research? Did you try different solutions? And of course, what was the outcome? Did you fix it? Did you find a clever way to do it?
Right. Show them you're resourceful.
Exactly.
Good advice.
Yeah.
Okay, we talked about teamwork and leadership, But I bet a lot of the time, a building cleaner is working solo, right?
You're right, a lot of it is independent work. So they're going to want to know you can handle that you can stay motivated even when you're on your own.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what kind of question would they ask to figure that out?
Maybe something like, can you describe a time when you had to work independently, without someone looking over your shoulder all the time?
Okay, so even if you haven't had a job that was completely solo, how do you answer that?
Well, think about times when you took charge, when you managed your own workload or figured out solutions on your own. Like maybe you had a big project you tackled solo, or you had to cover for someone at work, or even just think about how you manage your own life, your responsibilities.
So it's about those times when you had to be self-sufficient, basically.
Exactly. And, talk about how you stay focused and motivated when you're working alone. Maybe you set personal goals or break big tasks into smaller ones or use some kind of time management tool.
Those are good tips. Oh, before we move on, wanted to circle back to those specializations within building cleaning.
Yeah.
The career guide also mentioned something about training and certifications, right? Like that it's important to keep learning in this field.
Oh, absolutely. Staying up to date with the latest cleaning techniques, safety protocols, all that stuff, it's crucial. There are some really good organizations that offer certifications, like the ISA, they have a Cleaning Management Institute, and there's also the GBAC STAR program for infection prevention.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, those certifications, they show you're serious about your career, that you're committed to quality.
That's really helpful info, especially for anyone who wants to move up in their career.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm really curious about RoleCatcher's AI now, how it can help with all this interview prep.
Perfect timing. We've talked about general tips, but RoleCatcher's AI can take it to the next level, really personalize your answers for specific jobs and companies.
Okay, tell me more. What can it actually do?
Well, first of all, they have a CV resume builder. It helps you optimize your resume for those applicant tracking systems,
Yeah.
the ATS, the ones a lot of companies use to filter applications. It basically helps you get noticed.
Right, right.
And it also helps you highlight the skills and experience that are most important for the specific job you're going for.
So it's not just a good resume, it's a resume that's like tailored to that exact opportunity.
Exactly. And their interview practice with AI feedback feature, that's a game changer. You can actually practice your answers out loud and get feedback on how you sound, what you're saying, even your body language.
Wow, it's like having your own personal coach.
I know, right? And here's the best part. Their AI can actually analyze the job description you're interested in and help you tailor your answers to match what they're looking for.
Oh, wow. So you're not just practicing general answers, you're practicing answers for that specific company and role. That's amazing.
Exactly. It shows them you've done your homework, that you get what they need, and that you have the skills to deliver.
This is all so helpful. I can't believe how much we've covered already, and we still have more to talk about, right?
We do. In the last part, we'll wrap things up, talk about key takeaways, and how to really make a lasting impression on the hiring manager.
And we're back. For the final part of our Building Cleaner interview deep dive, we've covered a ton, from what the job really involves to all those tricky interview questions.
It's been pretty thorough. Anyone listening should be feeling way more prepared and confident now.
Definitely. Yeah, but before we wrap up, let's kind of sum it all up, distill it down to the essentials. What are those absolute must-dos for anyone prepping for this interview?
Well, I think one of the most important things is to really get why they're asking each question.
Oh, yeah, like what are they really trying to figure out?
Exactly. Are they looking for someone with crazy attention to detail or amazing problem-solving skills? Maybe they're super focused on time management or safety. Once you get what they're after, then you can tailor your answers to show off your strengths in those areas.
So it's not just about memorizing answers. It's about showing them you really understand what the job needs and how you fit in.
Exactly. And, don't forget about the power of stories.
Oh, yeah, stories are always good.
Don't just tell them you're good at something, give them an example. Remember those situations we talked about, like that time you had to deal with a really tough cleaning task, or that project you managed all on your own, or that new staff member you mentored? Those real-life stories, they make your answers way more memorable and impactful.
It's like they can actually picture you doing the job.
Yeah, it makes it real. And of course, practice. Practice your answers out loud, maybe even record yourself so you can hear how you sound. And like we mentioned before, RoleCatcher's AI tools, those can give you some really great feedback and help you fine-tune those answers for specific jobs and companies.
It's like having a secret weapon to help you stand out.
Totally. Okay, so last few minutes of the interview, that final impression, what do you need to remember?
Yeah. How do you leave them wanting more?
We'll always end by telling them how excited you are about the job and why you think you'd be a great fit.
Oh, yeah, good point.
You can also ask them some thoughtful questions, maybe about the company culture, the team, or even opportunities for, learning and growing in the role. It shows you're really interested and you've been thinking about it.
Right. It's not just about them interviewing you. It's about you finding out if it's a good fit for you, too.
Exactly. And don't forget those basics. Firm handshake, good eye contact, and a nice thank you note afterward. Those always help.
It's all about being professional and polite and leaving them feeling good about you.
You got it.
Okay, so I think we've covered pretty much everything. We talked about what it's really like to be a building cleaner. We broke down those common interview questions. And we even talked about how RoleCatcher's AI can help you prepare like a pro.
Yeah, now it's your turn to put all this into practice.
Think about your own skills and experiences, those stories that show them what you're capable of. Practice those answers, and most importantly, go into that interview feeling confident and excited.
You got this. Best of luck to everyone out there.
Good luck. We're rooting for you.